Hey guys, I wanted to make this video for you. I wanted to show you organically kind of like how to approach this assignment, or at the very least, how I would approach this. And so I just want to try and give you as many examples of what we're doing here as I possibly can. So I am here on my Instagram page, and I've thought a little bit about kind of like what would be my case study if I were doing this project right along with you guys. And so one of the things that I follow on Instagram, like cookie related things, what I want to do is I want to assume that I would take like the cookie community on Instagram as my case study and try to figure out like what that might tell me about social media. What direction might I head in if I were to write a paper and do a case study on this topic? This is my process. So if I have like all of this content, I can scroll down and I can know that, this video here from the Cookie Countess is a primary source. And then it's so new, I don't think there's any comments, but if there were, those comments would be primary sources. The Fat Cat Cookie Co., the bakery in Mooresville, all these cookie people that I follow, I would consider them to be in my case study. So what I can do though is I can just kind of like look at my cookie people, and I could go to my different cookie accounts that I like to look at and find content. But what do I do with that? So the first thing that I try to do is figure out like what are some main categories that I'm noticing about what I'm seeing within my case study. Okay, so main categories. First of all, if I'm taking a look at this video, I noticed that in the caption, she says, "Flying off our shelves, rubber tip tweezers that won't scratch your sprinkles," or a French word that I can't pronounce. And so I might say, a lot of the people who are posting about their cookies on Instagram, they're not just like sharing their art. I mean, they are doing that, but they're also marketing themselves or their products. And so I might say, all right, one of the big things I notice about my case study is marketing. Okay. And so I could use like this rubber tipped tweezers post from the Cookie Countess as one of my sources to show, that people are marketing. And so I might just make a note for myself, Cookie Countess tweezer video. Because as I was looking at this, I also noticed like how one person wrote in all caps, "OMG, I need those." And with a bunch of exclamation points and a heart, by the way, you guys. And I'm noticing how other people are responding. And so I might be thinking about like with those primary sources, we have this one, okay, so we do have some comments, sorry. So I might be saying like, I have one person who would buy those instantly if they could. And then I bet if I started to look at more posts where people are marketing products within the cookie world, you would see all of these other commenters saying, like, "I have to have these now," or, "Oh, I just purchased these right away." And so what I'm noticing with all of that is that there's a lot of impulse buying that is, I think, happening as a part of social media. And so, like, for example, I follow a couple of accounts that create food coloring for sugar-based items. And so I guess I mean like if you wanted to color icing or cakes or whatever. And so these companies will have kind of like these limited surprise or mystery boxes or like spring boxes or whatever, and they will sell out in a matter of hours. And so that just tells me people are like, oh, it's for sale, I'm buying it right now. Like maybe they thought a little bit about it in the week that the account had been posting saying, you know, our surprise box is coming. But there's also a lot of like this impulse buy factor of I just saw it and I need to have it. And so I'm kind of noticing that on my, like what's happening here. And so my primary sources would be marketing, and then maybe like the comments of people saying, I need this, I must have it, I just purchased this, I couldn't wait, you know, things like that. My secondary or my other sources would probably be like scholarly articles on impulse buying, or any kind of other articles on social media and marketing, something like that. Social media, marketing, scholarly articles on impulse buying. Okay. But one of the things that I'm also thinking about, kind of like what makes me look at this like Cookie Countess post and say, I would personally instantly go to this website and buy her utensils. Obviously, I think I have to have had at least a little bit of experience and trust for this person within the cookie community. And so, how does that, like, how did that happen? And this is just also, I'm thinking about this logically because the other two things that I notice about the cookie community on Instagram is one, that they're a pretty humorous community. And so this would be a good example of that humor. Like they are taking this pandemic and stress and the fact that people are you know, hoard purchasing toilet paper and cleaning supplies and things like that. And they're kind of like making it a little bit funny. And there are a lot of different like cookie people out there who have made like toilet paper cookies or hand sanitizer cookies, or like they'll have these script font cookie plaques that says stay the F at home. And so it's just kind of like, it's kind of funny and it's kind of cute. And so there's like this humor that I think I would also want to bring up if I were going to write a paper about this. And so I would want to show, and I would want to spend some time in my case study paper talking about the humor of the cookie community. And so I would just try to reference like funny cookie posts. And I think that I would go in two directions with this. First, I would go to like the concept of like the COVID-19, you know, how people are just kind of like buying everything, especially toilet paper. And then I would probably also take a look at the Tiger King cookies that a lot of people are also making. So, you know, of course we have all of our Tiger King memes that are coming out now that everybody's pretty much watched Tiger King, but people are also in the cookie community on Instagram making them into funny cookies. And so, I think I like backtracking a little bit, y'all. I think I've also seen like the actual virus made into a cookie. But anyway, so I think that that's kind of something really interesting. And so I'm curious about how humor bonds us. So sources about how humor bonds us. And that can be like scholarly articles, of course, are going to be the most credible, but also, you know, any kind of secondary article found online is also going to be fine. And so I would want to try and figure out like, okay, I'm noticing that there's a lot of humor in the cookie community. And so maybe that's like a bringing people together situation. And the other thing that I noticed, there's a lot of support in the cookie community as well. One of the people that I follow a lot on Instagram is working to make the face shield headbands with their 3D printers. And there are actually a whole bunch of people who 3D print cookie cutters who are now 3D printing face shields and the supplies to create the face shields. And so I noticed a lot of support in that community in this way, kind of like this call to action type thing. And so I think that that would be the other big, if we're talking about the thing I first said in this video, which is big umbrella concepts or big ideas, then this is a supportive community. And I see that, I think, through like the crisis, I don't know. I'm just going to put a placeholder here. Crisis management. I can't spell that. Okay. But also like I could reference not only the fact that we're seeing a lot of crisis management, you know, people trying to figure out ways to help, but also just the support in that a lot of the people in the cookie community kind of like give each other their trade secrets. If you don't do that, you're almost the weirdo, I think, if I can say that. So sharing trade secrets and kind of like the techniques that you use to do your cookies and everything, like these tutorial videos, how to make different tools that you might need. You would think that maybe someone who's selling their products wouldn't want other people to be able to just make it at home, but actually this community doesn't really care about that. And so I think that that's really, really interesting. And so we have this support. And I think off the top of my head, I can't think about, I would probably look for just articles, probably not scholarly articles. Maybe I would try to look for scholarly articles, but I would probably just look for articles about social media as a supportive community. Let's say this is as far as I go. And I think that, you know, you might decide to have 4 or 5 topics, and that's fine. You probably can be fine with three kind of like big ideas to consider, especially if each one has multiple like subcategories, because I wouldn't just be having one paragraph for each of these. And I guess I do just kind of want to talk a little bit more about like what this looks like in essay form. And so what I'm doing here is I'm building the roughest outline I could possibly build. After you look at this week's like weekly to-do list learning materials, you'll see that there's an example body paragraph, and then you'll see 2 example papers. You'll see information on structuring, like the organization of your paper. And so you'll know that there are different ways, different approaches to writing this paper and to going about analyzing the things that you're finding. And so if I took my section here on humor, for example, I might decide that what I want to do is have 1 or 2 paragraphs presenting how people are using humor in creating these cookies. And so I might have 1 paragraph on how people are using humor with the COVID-19 cookies, and then I might have another paragraph on how people are using Tiger King cookies, and then I might have a final paragraph at the end, really just like explaining why humor brings people together, why humor is effective. Essentially, all of like, for the case study I'm giving you guys an example of, I thought about it, the way I approached this first was thinking about what are some of the big categories, and then I'm trying to think about like how do all of those things relate together, because I have marketing. Okay, cool, people are selling stuff. I also have this fact that people are being funny, and then I also have this fact that people are like supporting each other. But what is that doing? Like, what's the nature of social media, or what is that doing as a whole, all together, collectively? How can, essentially the question here is, how can I make my paper unified if I have these 3 big different concepts? And so that was the question that I was trying to answer whenever I created my thesis statement. And so this is what I came up with. By the way, this is a working thesis. Like, I don't love it, but here's what I got. Social media is the best marketplace for impulse shoppers because it allows users to quickly and frequently connect with companies. This is evidenced through Instagram's cookie community and its use of humor, support systems, and product demonstrations. And so essentially what I'm trying to say is the only reason that the marketing works in this community of social media is because of humor and support. And if that's what I want to say, then actually when I think about it, I probably need to restructure my paper, or at least my very rough outline. And I probably need to say that I might first talk about humor and then talk about support and finally explain how those two things are working together to make the marketing really, really effective. And not just marketing in particular, but in this case, impulse buying, because, it's the same concept of like at Target. You know how there's stuff before you get to the register? That's the impulse stuff. It's the stuff nobody goes to the store to purchase, but you're standing there and you're waiting and you're just like, yeah, I might as well buy this. Like, I'll add the candy bar to my basket, or sure, I need some lighters, or what else do they have there? Chips and magazines and things like that. And so those are the impulse places of a store. But here I'm saying that social media in this cookie community is the impulse place of our entire like online marketing world. Is the social media. Social media creates impulse buyers. How does it do that? Through humor and support. That's really what I'm trying to say. And then I'm also saying that, let me give you my case study, which is the cookie community. Okay, and so I wanna like show that throughout. I can have paragraphs where I'm just focused on explaining how the cookie community is supportive, but I always want to make sure that throughout my paper, not just at the end, but throughout my paper, I'm bringing it back to this broader thing about social media. I don't just want to say Tiger King cookies are funny. I want to say that the users of social media within this cookie community are using humor in order to build a supportive community, ultimately to market a product. And because of that, like, it's fair to say that social media uses humor to sell impulse purchases, or things that would be considered impulse purchases. And again, I think our examples this time around are beautiful and awesome, and they do such a really good job of that. Please email me if you need anything.